Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. Oh my god, this morning I am off 20 milligrams of Vyvanse, approximately 2 coffees, a protein shake with, oh my god, colostrum in it, which I didn't know what that was. I never checked the ingredients on my smoothies, but remind me never to do that again. For as long as I live in this godforsaken city of Los Angeles, I decided, what the fuck is in this delicious, delicious protein shake I'm drinking every morning? Ooh, I go to the ingredients. Ooh, colostrum. Ooh, I don't know that word. So I Google that word. Oh, the first squirt of milk from a cow after it fucking gives birth. Disgusting. Also, give it to the baby. What the fuck? Or is it the first squirt of milk in the morning? Can't remember. And what else have I had this morning? The Celsius. And again, by the way, not sponsored by Celsius. The fuck? Still not sponsored by them. I don't want to be, because I talk too much shit about the drink, but I just feel the need to mention that. Anyway, this week I've been thinking a lot. Do you guys remember? I want you to cast your mind back in time to a podcast episode a few moons ago, and I was talking about how, well, I briefly touched, it was the one where I was talking about how yearning is for me, and I was talking about how when I got to LA, I felt this huge loss of community because I had realized that I'd taken for granted for many years. Like, I didn't even realize it was something that was important. Well, I knew it was important to me. Wait, what am I saying? I realized that I was not as independent of a person as I had always prided myself to be. And what I mean by that is, at home, I have a huge community of just people that I know because I've always lived in the same little area and it's a small place and I grew up there and so did my mum. And so it's like, we just know everyone and you have so many people around you, and even if they're not your friends or necessarily the best people you've ever met in your life, you just know them. There's faces you know everywhere. There's people you can call if you need something. And when I landed in LA, I felt the loss of that so hugely. I felt the loss of my family and I felt the loss of my network and my community that was just local to me. And it led me to become someone that I don't like, because one thing about me is I will never seek out a relationship romantically. I've never done that in my life. And like, I'm gonna be a bit mean here. Don't take it personally if you do this, but I don't love people who do that. I don't love people who cyclically get into romantic relationships and consistently seek them out when they're not in one. And what I mean by that is the people who will date someone for whatever, a couple years or even just a couple months, and they'll go through like their healing phase, and then the second that they're like healed, or God, for like even before, they're already looking for the next person to be with. I can't, it's rare that I really can't fucking find the words, but I cannot fucking find the words to articulate this kind of person. And I don't think it's wrong to be in a phase of your life where you are actively seeking a partner. I don't think that's wrong at all. I'm talking about the people who it's like, they get out of a relationship and then, you know, a while later it's like, okay, where am I going to find my next boyfriend? And it's like, what do you mean? And also, I don't find that attractive if I'm looking to date someone and they seem to me to be that kind of person, because I don't want to be the best of a bad bunch. Like, I don't want you to be looking for a relationship and see me and like me enough and already have a role in your life that you want me to fit into, and so you're like, I'll just take you then because, like, you know, you're good enough. Like, that's how that feels to me as a prospective partner, separate from being the friend of someone doing that. It's just not attractive to me in any sense. Whatever it is, it's just like, there's something about people who seek it out persistently and time again that doesn't fucking sit well with me. But again, I will reiterate that it's very different from just being in a phase of your life where you decide you're ready and want a relationship and you want that closeness and that partnership, and you start going on dates and you fucking find someone. That is so different. I'm talking about the cyclicality. My point being, when I came to LA and I felt this massive loss of community and of my family and of just every person who had ever stood behind me and supported me that I hadn't even really noticed was there, I felt a huge loss, and it led me to just going on a lot of dates, trying to find someone more. I wanted more, I wanted connection, I wanted closeness, and I felt scared. And when I boiled it down to, oh, I feel scared, I feel alone, it got me thinking, okay, well, the date scene, going on dates is not a solution to this. And I need to just see this feeling and be with it and not try and fix it, because it's a completely irrational thing to feel. You move to a new country, I'm like a 12-hour flight from home. Of course I feel alone. Getting into a mid-relationship is not going to be the fucking fix to that, okay? So anyway, it got me thinking a lot about being alone. And it got me thinking about what it means to truly be known by someone. And I think one of the things that I find overwhelming in adult life is that a lot of my friends that I've made since I turned 18 are obviously, like, I say 18 because that's kind of the age where most people would step out into the world. And the reason I find those friendships to be interesting is because they just don't know you before you met them. And you can tell someone, you can catch them up. You can tell them every story that you remember from your childhood. You can tell them everything. You can tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And they may know a more comprehensive account of your life and your experiences. And they may know the the neuro pathways of your brain more than your own mother. But there is something to be said for people who witnessed it. And this really got drilled in for me when I went home recently, because I remember how I went to Florence a couple of weeks ago. And before I went to Florence, I went for a Gucci show. I had stopped home in the UK to visit my family for a couple of days because I was already in the area, so I was like, why not? And when I was there, I went to the pub with a couple of my friends who I grew up with. And I love these people, and that's not ever in question for me. But what stuck out to me was, like, the familiarity was just so comforting. And I was like, it's so different to tell someone about yourself than it is to just be with someone who witnessed it. Because when you're in a newer friendship, whether that's a year, 2 years, 3 years old, being who you are and you've told them all about yourself and whatever, I feel like there is just more room for scrutiny and error, and for you to do something and for them to go, was that a sign that they are not who they've told me they are? Was that... There's more skepticism, and rightly so, because you don't know this person as well as you could, and it takes a lifetime to build the highest level of trust. You'll die on the best day of your relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like, it will take until the day you die to know someone as much as you can know them. And when you think about those relationships that have been in your life since... I mean, for me, I grew up in a really small area, so some of my friendships that I'm referencing in this video, I've literally known them since birth. Like, one of my best friends from back home, she was born like 6 months after me or something, and our mums were best friends, and we were neighbours. So this bitch is basically my sister. And it's like, while we may not have the level of conversation that I have with my best friend T, who I met only 2 years ago, barely, not even 2 years ago, while me and my friend from home may not have that level of conversation and that level of insight with each other, because we don't sit down and hash out our feelings and theorize about the world for hours on end. In fact, I hardly see her. She still knows another level of my being because she saw it. Do you know what I mean? She knows who I am because she witnessed me being that person. She has witnessed everything I've ever done. She's witnessed me in every phase of my life. She's witnessed me have lice too. But she's witnessed me in every phase of life I've ever been in, and there is no need for me to ever stand in front of her and say, I am a good person, I am a compassionate person, I am at times a selfish person, I fear. Because she sees it. Like, it's not a thing of storytelling or, oh, did I portray myself right? Or like when you fear that you accidentally lie in therapy and it's like, what if I'm the evil one and I'm telling my therapist all this and I'm gaslighting her secret and I didn't even know and I'm manipulating her and she thinks I'm a good person but I'm not and I'm evil? And it's like, there's none of that because they seen everything. Like, how could you possibly lie? You couldn't lie when you were 5. They saw you at 5. Do you know what I mean? It's just this very comforting, different level of knowing. And then I got into this deeper territory in my brain, which actually really fucking scared me, where it was basically like, do I even know myself anymore? Because I realized that my identity has been intrinsically tied to different things at different points in my life. The reason I realized this was, if you guys haven't fucking seen, I implore you to go and watch. It was the Charlie Kirk debating Cambridge students series of videos. I can't tell you for sure how many he debated, I think like 5, on all different topics. And when I was watching those videos, which we can talk about another time because they were fucking brilliant, but I'm kind of just going to skip over the actual substance of them. What struck me was a feeling of longing, because I haven't been in an academic space in a really long time. I graduated uni in 2022, now it's 2025 somehow, and I haven't really dabbled in like academia since then, because obviously it's no longer part of my like job or my life. And I genuinely think of my life as being split into different eras. Like, there was before university, then there was university, and then there was immediately after university, and then there is now. And I have now reached a point in my life where it is the after. Like, university happened, then there was the after, and now there's me. And that's a really weird place to be. And I realized when watching this video that I missed academic discussions. I missed being around people who would teach me something new every minute of the day. And I realized that something in my value system had very much changed. And what I mean by that is, I used to place value, and forgive me if this is rude. I'm just being honest. I used to put value only in people, not only in people, but I used to, as far as my like career life went and my education life went, when we're talking, I'm in that circle and that context, where I placed my value was on people with the highest level of education, whether it was you get a good grade, whether it's your work ethic, whether it's the course that you were studying or the university that you went to, or just the way that you are. That was my internal value system. And I went as far, and forgive me again, because I'm speaking about an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old version of myself, but I went as far during that time as to actively, in my head, almost devalue people in the creative spaces. Reason for that being, I think I felt a level of, not animosity, that's way too strong of a word, but like, not resentment, but it was almost jealousy that I hadn't realized was jealousy of people who were studying in the creative fields, because it's no secret that the creative industry in general is dominated by the affluent, like the people who have a lot of the time something to fall back on, because we all know it is not the most well-paid space. I mean, it's very well paid if you're at the top, but that is a teeny tiny amount of people compared to the entire industry. And it is also an industry that runs hugely on connections. And if you are coming from a family where there's not extra money and there's not any connections because your parents are nowhere near that industry, then a lot of the time, in order to pursue a career in the creative spaces, you are taking a risk actively. And that was a risk I couldn't take. I so strongly wanted to succeed that I wasn't going to risk getting a degree in a space where I knew my chances were shot. I would much rather, and therefore I did, pursue a degree in the academic spaces where I knew that was a strength of mine, and I knew that that industry ran less so on wealth and connections. I mean, it massively runs on wealth, like fucking look at it, but connections less so. And I knew and I could see a path where I could work my way up and I could get myself just about into the right rooms and just about in front of the right people. And I was on that mission and I could see a way in which it would work, whereas the creative industry to me was just like a minefield that I couldn't even be bothered to enter because I didn't know which way was up. And so therefore, I think through slight jealousy and also just through it was useless to me, I only really place value on those in the academic fields, right? And it was such a big part of who I was. I prouded myself on, okay, maybe we should go back to school, babe. I used to pride myself on, I don't even know. I used to pride myself on how well I was doing in school, and that was the probably biggest part of my entire identity, was the papers I had written, the achievements that I had made, and whatever was going on in my school life in general. And that wasn't a bad thing, because it made sure that I fucking did my homework, like that's for sure. Like I did get good grades and I did focus on school, and I, in hindsight, put way too much pressure on myself during university actually, but anyways, it's not the point. But I realized that a huge part of my identity has therefore changed, because I hadn't even noticed this piece of my identity kind of slip away, in the sense that my value system is now completely different. It relies more on what can I create, what are cool things other people have created, and where can I collaborate, how can I collaborate, who can help me bring this vision to life or that vision to life, and what are other people's cool visions that they've brought to life. And that is now where my thinking kind of goes, if that makes sense. And I realized I've become someone that I would have so envied as a kid at school, as a university kid. I would have been so envious, because I think I've always wanted to really do what I'm doing now. I just wish I could do both, honestly. I wish, and I can. I always just think, the unfortunate thing with the creative industry in general is a lot of the front-facing stuff, like being on camera and whatnot, does rely on a level of youth, and especially as a fucking woman, and especially one who is predominantly just living on the internet the way I do. Like, it's not a secret. A lot of it is related to youth, not just because, like, everyone fucking loves the young ones, apparently, but it's also, like, those are the demographics that are consuming it. They don't really want to hear from someone a lot older than them, and that makes sense. And the people that are much, much older than them aren't really consuming the media at all because they have lives and kids and whatever. It is a young people's space, specifically what I do. Not to say that it's only young people here, obviously it's not. There's loads of older creators that I love and I listen to, but it's like, come on now, we all know the deal. And especially with fucking TikTok. And so the way I view it is like, I'm just kind of shelving my linguistics degree for later in life. And I know that if I live long enough, I will pursue it again. Like, that's not even a question for me. And I love, and I can't tell you guys actually because I have a secret, but I can't tell you my secret, but I'm gonna just tell you a bit of my secret, but just don't tell anyone. I am actually getting to indulge a lot more in my linguistic side with a new project that I'm working on right now that you will hopefully see by the end of the year, maybe even before then, maybe like October, I don't know. But yeah, I am, and it's bringing me a lot of joy. But I'm getting so off topic. So I realized actually a massive part of my identity has changed. I don't place value where I used to place value in myself or in others. My entire worldview is different because I was looking at a completely different part of life, from academia to fucking LA. Like, it's so different, you can't even compare. Not that there's no academics in LA, but you know what I'm saying. I went from fucking Kent Uni to LA. I'm confused, bitch. What happened to me? And it got me thinking, do I even know myself anymore? Like, I'm looking at all these other people freaking out, thinking, who knows me? Am I alone in this world? Like, do I even have anyone that, like, would love me if they knew me? Because what if I'm just, like, giving everyone this unreal version of myself? And what if I don't actually have any friends? And what if no one actually likes me? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm, like, freaking out. And then I'm like, bitch, do you even know yourself? And I'm like, no. Life moved so fast, and I don't even know how I got here, and I'm so overwhelmed. Life moved so quick that, like, I didn't even have time to notice that everything about me changed. And that is so scary to realize, because I genuinely became sentient, and I looked around and I was like, wait, why am I in Hollywood? What the fuck? Like, it kind of hit me for the first time that this isn't a dream. Like, I was like, oh shit. I'm not who I am inside of my head. Inside of my head, I'm just, like, still at uni, and this is all a bit. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it just moved so quickly that I didn't have time to catch up, and I didn't even see myself change. Until I did. Until I saw a room that I used to identify with, and felt a longing for it, because it's been a long time since I've been there. Not that I fucking went to Cambridge or I've ever stepped fucking foot in Cambridge. Actually, I have. But do you know what I mean? Seeing a community that I used to see as my peers and now seeing them as people who probably wouldn't think to talk to me is like a shocking feeling. And it freaked me the fuck out. And so I think there's something very grounding in having witnesses. Because sometimes shit goes so not to plan. Like, this wasn't my plan. And shit goes so not to plan that you don't even fucking notice how far you've gone from the plan. But do you know who did? Your childhood best friend. Like, she's just watched you, you know? And it wasn't overwhelming to her. She's watched probably in amazement, like, oh wow, look at her go. Like, it's just nice to have witnesses, because sometimes you just don't even know what happened in your own life. And it's valuable for someone to be able to sit next to you and just know you and just tell you. It kind of reminds me of, if you guys have seen Fleabag, my favorite show ever, by the way. It circles around one character called Fleabag, and her sister is like kind of the other character in the story that you see a lot of. And I have such bad indigestion. Her name is Claire. The sister's name is Claire. And Claire is married, and she has quite a successful career. And Fleabag, her sister, less so. No marriage, less successful career, very rich internal world, but also very unhealthy. And Claire is like emotionally constipated, and they clearly don't talk about their feelings very much. Like, they get sent to a therapeutic retreat after their mum dies, and they like don't speak to each other the whole time because it's a silent retreat, and it's just like they just don't talk about things. They don't have that kind of a dynamic. And still, Fleabag knows more about Claire than anyone else in the entire show, even her husband. And one of the ways you see this is Claire cuts her hair when she's pre-menstrual or on her period. I think it's premenstrual. She always does something crazy to her hair, and it's like this ongoing bit in the show. It's really funny. And the first time that you see Claire cut her hair in the show, Fleabag looks to the camera and she's like, she's PMSing. This is the thing our mum used to call her monthly something. I don't know, I can't remember the name. And Fleabag doesn't say it out loud to the sister. She just affirms that the haircut looks French because Claire is freaking out that it's ugly. She's like, no, it's French. And it's just like, there is a bond between siblings, specifically sisters, that I think is so unspeakable and completely impossible to replicate. And I think it comes from, most of the time, you don't have to have explicit and intrinsic conversations about who you are and how you feel and what you think to know the other still more deeply than 99% of the rest of the population and everyone else in her life. And that is something that's so rare, and I think when you have it, you should cling to it. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that this person has to be your best friend. It just means it's valuable. And that's why I think that individualism can be particularly harmful, because there's obviously this rhetoric online that says and I think people are really starting to disagree with it en masse, which I fucking love, because this has been pissing me off, but I didn't want to be the first one to say it, because fuck that. But it was this kind of rhetoric of you don't owe anyone anything. And it's just this very individualistic fuck shit where it's yeah, you do. Of course you do. And it's not that you owe them hours of your life or significant emotional labor or massive space on your plate, but you owe everyone something. It's a good thing to go out into the world and meet new people who do align with you more. And you should. But I think when you look back at friendships from your hometown or from when you're a teenager or wherever it is, from earlier points in your life, or even your family, if you don't have the best relationship with them and you don't know what to feel about it or think about it, it's just because someone doesn't feed you in the way that you need anymore, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have that person around. And I'm not talking about people who are directly harmful, right? Who hold views that are harmful, who hold, maybe resentment or animosity to you. I'm not talking about the bad relationships in our life. I'm just talking I feel like a lot of people think, well, you don't necessarily feed me and I don't agree with everything about you and I don't love everything that you do and everything you stand for. And that's fine. And it's okay to hold people at an arm's length and know what they are and sit with the truth of that. But I think there's a lot of power in still knowing people anyway, because to be known, to be witnessed, and to witness others is the whole fucking point of being here, I think. And you don't have to align with someone in every way in order for them to still be very, very valuable to your life and for you to be very valuable to theirs. I think people are our greatest power, and I think that I know I've been carried away before with cutting people off because they don't feed me, serve me, because I just can't do it with them. And honestly, when I first developed this kind of boundary and this kind of understanding of honestly just a fucking understanding of boundaries in general, and then looking back and being wait, these people all cross my boundaries and maybe they don't respect me, maybe they're not good people to be around. I went on the biggest kind of cutting off spree of my life. I was 20 when this happened. And I remember saying to a good friend of mine, I feel like I'm being too much and I'm overexerting my boundaries in a way that is actually a little bit detrimental. I'm exerting my boundaries through fear and not through self-respect. I cut X person off because they showed me a sign of being someone that I am afraid if they become who I think they might be, that I will be very, very hurt. And I remember my friend saying to me one of the most valuable things anyone's ever said to me in my life, which was, when you first start to develop boundaries and you first start to get a real idea of self-respect, you will likely overexert them. And then you may underexert them because you become regretful and your opinion of yourself may become crazy. I was crazy during that phase of my life where I was so self-righteous and had such opinions on who I was and felt that my identity was kind of everyone's business and I had to be known and I had to be safe and respected. And then you may underexert them because you look back at yourself and you're I did too much. And then you will come to a place of peace, and it's somewhere in the middle ground of knowing why you are doing what you're doing and doing it in a way that is true to yourself. Now, if there's someone in my life who does breach a boundary, it just depends on the boundary and the severity of the breach and why I think they might have done that and where did it come from in them to treat me that way, especially if they knew, hey, like, what the fuck? Like, they knew it was wrong or they knew it was not great. That used to be enough for me to never fucking speak to you again. And I am now not like that because I think that there's a lot more learning that comes from being able to just bear it. Okay, you did something that didn't feel right. And then you knew it wasn't right. And I told you it wasn't right. I've taken a 2 feet step away from you emotionally, rather than cutting them off. And you just make a mental note of what they did. And if they do it again, you know what it is. And it's like, there is more power for me there is more self-love and self-care, and there is more development in my relationship with myself the more that I go about life this way, because it's like, even if this person triggers a wound in me that I would prefer not be fucking triggered, and they're not the best person and for me to spend my time with, to not just go cold turkey, cut them off, whatever. Obviously I'm not fucking pursuing a relationship with them, but say it's an acquaintance or a friend, to know that I'm going to be okay with that experience. And obviously this is relative to what they did, but it's like, for me, this is how I build community, because no one is perfect. Everyone you ever come across is going to hurt you in some type of way. Whether it was unintentional or whether it wasn't intentional, but it was just because they're fucking lazy and a bit selfish, or whether it was intentional and they're just cruel, whatever it is. And if it's from cruelty, you always have to cut them off because that's fucking crazy. But like, during the phase of my life where I was overexerting these boundaries, I was cutting out valuable parts of my community. And now more than ever, now being in LA, I realize how important community is to me and how these people do not have to be perfect and I don't have to be perfect. And that is the beauty of being alive, is that no one's going to be perfect and no one has to be. And you have to give yourself grace, and you can only really do that if you give other people grace. And that was like a valuable lesson for me. And I think that it will help you to feel known if you can master the art of keeping people around, obviously within reason. I'm hoping that is reading through everything I'm saying is obviously everything within reason. And the other thing I was thinking was, I had this awful thought, right? Actually, someone mentioned it to me. They were like, do you ever think about what people would say in your eulogy? And it reminded me of this Miranda Hart sketch. Oh my god, funniest fucking show ever if you guys watched it. If you didn't, it's this like British TV show that aired in like the 2000s. It was like Fleabag before Fleabag. It was fucking hilarious. And it was like, was it good? She would break the fourth wall and like talk to the camera. It's so fucking funny. Anyway, at one point, I think she decides that she wants to hear what people would write in her eulogy. And so I can't remember what she does. She doesn't fake her death. I think she just makes her friends write eulogies. I don't know. Oh no, she starts to do good deeds and read to kids, and I think she tries to like jump out of an airplane and stuff because she's like, fuck, no one's gonna have anything good to say about me. I could be getting this wrong. Anyway, got me thinking, what the fuck would people say in my eulogy? And I'm not worried about if people think I'm a good person in my eulogy. I was like, does anyone even know me? Like, if I die tomorrow, God for fucking bid, if I was to die tomorrow, would anyone have really known me? Would my presence here have ever made an impact? Would my friends be left with the right perception of me? Because after you die, all that's left is your memory. And what if my memory is wrong? And then I may as well have never existed. And that was an overwhelming thought that I wish I never had. Sorry that I'm putting it onto you now. Sorry. But yeah, I was like, fuck man, like what does anyone even know about me? Because as much as all my friends, I like to think, do know me, and some more than others and some in different ways than others, when I pee, I have to tickle my lower back with one of my hands, otherwise I like can't pee properly. Thought I should get that out there in case I die, because when I was thinking about the eulogy thing, I was peeing, and then I was like tickling my lower back like a fucking baby kitten. Okay, that's what they do. The mums, they like lick their babies' buttholes to get them to like pee and stuff. They have to stimulate the area. It's like exactly what I'm doing. So anyway, I was like, no one knows I do this. And how lonely. I'm lonely on the toilet now because no one knows that I have to fucking tickle my back in order to piss. No one knows me. And so I was like, it's weird how these like such private, obviously that's just a weird example, but like there are parts of your life that just will never be known. They'll never be known. And you have to make peace with that, I fear. And for some reason, I don't mind that when it comes to myself. Like, I don't mind really dying with people not having truly known my internal world. I don't. In fact, I'm scared of anyone ever knowing my internal world because it's so ugly at times. Like, everyone is ugly deep down and beautiful, but like, there is ugly to everyone. And that is one of my long-standing fears in life, is like, one day when I'm married and this person is just gonna know me forever, like, what, you're gonna find out all that stuff? Question mark? What if you don't like me anymore? Like, that's so scary. And I don't mind too much the idea of dying without being known. But do you know what I do mind? And this surprised me, was the fact that if there's so much that even my closest friends don't know about me, what do I not know about them? And that made me feel lonely. The fact that you, just as hard as you may try, can never truly get inside of someone else's brain is sad to me. Not because I yearn to be seen and known, but because I want to see them so much. How dare you keep fucking secrets from me? I thought we were best friends. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, identity is confusing and it's ever changing, which makes it feel scary because who the fuck am I? If I don't even know that, how can someone else know that? And if I don't even know who my friends are we all just gonna die alone? Do you think? This article from the New Yorker said it really nicely. I'm going to read it to you now. Ready? Okay, it says this in the New Yorker. I'll link the article if you want to read it. It's really good. It says, does anybody really know you? It's a question that arises at odd moments, sometimes perversely, when we're surrounded by people who know us well. Suddenly we become conscious of an inner sanctum that they've never breached. We might feel subtly private. More dramatically, we might perceive ourselves as lost, abandoned, and as though we're passing through the world unnoticed. Perhaps we're wearing a mask that others are too inattentive to peer behind, or maybe we're just too deep to know. There are many variations on a central theme. Others sail to our shores, they even disembark, but they never quite venture into our unexplored interiors. This can be a source of sorrow or a source of relief. Crazy statement, the fuck, but it's true, and I feel like, for me, the only times that I've ever truly been worried about being alone inside of my own head and in my life is when I'm surrounded by people. Because it's unsettling to realize I'm stuck in this body and this brain and you can't get in. To me, it feels almost like the same claustrophobia as being blind would give me. Like, that's like one of my biggest fears, is going blind, because I'm like, I won't be able to see. Like, it sounds so claustrophobic. Like, I just have panic attacks all day, I think. And it gives me that same unease of like, wait, no one can get in here and help me. I am completely alone inside of this body. And I can share pieces of it, and I can put pieces of it on the table, and someone can kind of adventure into it and indulge. But ultimately, the truth of life is you're born alone and you'll die alone, babe. It's not to say you won't be loved and known, but you'll be alone, though. Terrifying shit. Don't like it. I've got to stop filming podcast episodes like this when I'm on 50,000 grams of caffeine, because it actually gives me a fucking panic attack. I also need to shit. So there's that. And do you want to know what's crazy? The older I get, the less I feel I know anything about myself, because I now know things can change, and that's unsettling. Like, I remember being a teenager and thinking I just knew everything there was to know about myself. And I knew that wasn't true at the time as well, but I just felt very at ease with my identity. And do you want to know a very weird, niche, specific example of this that I have? So you guys know I was like housebound for many years of my adolescence because I would have panic attacks all the fucking time. I couldn't go outside, I was agoraphobic, all that stuff. And when I finally went back to school, I realized that everyone around me had grown up and I hadn't. And what I mean by that is, like, I had done a lot of maturing, and I had to become very independent and very emotionally mature very, very quickly and at a very young age, because I was dealing with very mature, like, not even mature, but like very hard things inside of my own head. And so I had to kind of rise to that challenge and then overcome it. But what I hadn't done was mature socially. My humor hadn't matured, my interactions with people were the same as the last day I had ever been at school, which was basically in year 8. So I walked back into like the end of year 11. It's like the tail end of year 11. We're sitting our GCSEs, and I rejoined the first day of school my old friend group, who very quickly, by the way, discarded of me soon thereafter because I was fucking weird. But I rejoined the friend group thinking nothing would have changed, and I was met by 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, who were talking about things I'd never spoken about, who were making jokes I'd never thought of, and who had these developed sense of selves. And I was like, wow. I thought I was grown because I thought that I was more mature than everyone in my age group because of what I had been dealing with. And I've walked in and I've realized I know my brain very well, but I am not even a fucking person anymore. I've been so in my own fucking echo chamber that I'm literally stunted my development as a human being. Like, I am right where everyone left me. I'm at the restaurant, bitch, in year 8. Come get me. I'm at the canteen. Still at the canteen. By the way, I was talking about canteen food the other day, and I really, 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 really want a cheese panini from my old school. So bad. I want Pasta King as well. Delicious. So anyway, everyone had these developed personalities, and I was like, fuck, I have to catch up. And I've never been more aware of the fact that I had fallen behind. And I went home, and I thought about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was very into makeup during this phase of my life, and that was part of my identity, that I wore a lot of makeup. That was one thing I knew about my outer world that people saw. Okay, Madeline wears a lot of makeup. That's one thing about me, and I dye my hair black. This is my identity now. And I remember one morning before school, I woke up, I was doing my makeup, and I put a little bit of brown eyeshadow in my crease, which, by the way, I still do to this day. Like, almost every day I put bronzer here when I'm feeling lazy, and every time I do it, I'm like, oh. She was really onto something, because I remember so I started to do that, right? The brown eyeshadow, and then like a few weeks into doing it every morning, I was like, I am Madeline Argy, and I put brown eyeshadow in my eye crease, and that's like something about me. Like, I finally have like something consistent about me that people can see, and I'm developing a personhood. That's how it felt. And it sounds so dumb, but it was such a huge thing for me. And what the fuck was my point? Oh, and like, you cling to those things when you're young, because life moves at a slower pace. Even though you grow very quickly during your teenage years, it's like, I felt like I was at secondary school forever, and it was only fucking 7 years. Like, that's not that long of a time when you grow up. And when you leave secondary school, you think you've been there your whole life, and then before you know it, fucking 7 years have passed since you were there. I don't even think 7 years have passed since I was there, but I can't do maths. Yeah, 7 years haven't passed since I was at secondary school. Anyway, it's not the point. I feel like Kate King when I do that shit. We all remember where we were, don't we? You weren't born. Evil Val, put her in a car with me, I'll sort her out. Anyway, I miss that. It's my point. I miss having small attributes about myself and thinking that they were part of who I was, and feeling so firm in my identity. And now I just feel like, okay, well, 5 minutes ago I was a linguist in the making, and then I was another thing, and now I'm another thing. Which one is me? I don't know. And I know who you are can really only be attributed to your core values and whatever, like who are you as a person and blah 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 blah, and probably that stuff doesn't change very much, because really the more and more and more I become myself and grow into who I am as a person and what makes me feel real and authentic, it's just the shit I was doing when I was 6. Like, I was onto stuff. I really was. I was onto stuff from age 0 to age 13. I was onto something, and then the world beat it out of me, and then I thought that I was wrong. And then now I'm realizing, no, I was right about literally almost everything. And also, like, I need to shave my eyebrows off again. Everyone's middle school self had a fucking point. Whatever you were saying in middle school, I hate that I just said middle school. Whatever you were saying in primary school, go back. That's who you are. That's what I'm learning. A little bit. Oh, God, anyways. So I'm having an identity crisis is what I've gathered from this episode. And I feel known, but I feel known in different ways by different people. And I think that having witnesses is important. I'm summarizing. I think having witnesses is important. And I think having deeper, more intrinsic, more knowing friendships in adulthood is also excruciatingly important. Or if it's your relationship, fine. Whatever it is, someone. But also, if you don't have that, because I was speaking to someone and they were like, they reminded me of a feeling I used to have, which was, they said, I've been to like a couple of my friends' weddings, and I've always been a bridesmaid, but I've never been the maid of honor. And I was like, oh my God. Because right now, I'm lucky enough to have 2 best friends where if I got married, they would fight for maid of honor. And if they got married, I would fight tooth and nail for maid of honor against anyone else in their life. Or I would just be the maid of honor. Like, I know that that is my position, that I am their best friend and they are my best friend. And I went many years of my life not having that. And it's such a lonely feeling, because I think we've all been there where it's like, yeah, I have really good friends, but they all have someone else as well. Like, you're my best friend, but I'm not yours. And that is so, oh my God, it's such a place to be. And I've been there. I feel like a lot of people have. And so in this episode, if I've given you a crisis, don't worry. It's going to be fine. Like, I genuinely believe that there is people for everyone. If you even slightly wish for connection and friendship or romance, then those are all things that should be yours and will be yours. There's not a reason for you to want something if it isn't for you. Do you know what I mean? And the universe is smarter than we are, and it will just cue your person when it's their cue. You are currently becoming who you need to become in order for you guys, that person you haven't met yet, to click. Do you know what I mean? Like, I always think about the way I met T. It was so random. She was crying on the side of the street in London. And I walked past her and I was staring at her. I was, damn, the bitch is crying. What's wrong with her? And also, she's pretty. I walked past her and then she DM'd me on Instagram. And this was in like 2022 and I just started TikTok. She DM'd me something like, were you just walking past me? Because I swear I saw you talking about your pubes on my For You page earlier. And I was like, yes, hello. And she was the first person to ever see me in real life and know me from the internet. And she is now she is my soulmate. Like, she's got to be one of them. I believe in multiple, but like, the bitch is my soulmate. She genuinely is. And I believe that I have wanted a friend like T for so long. And I've had a friend like T before. She was this kid I grew up with, and we grew apart when we were teenagers. And we're still friends, but it's just, we've never been best friends since we were younger. You know, we stopped being best friends, and that was that. I still love her, but it's just not the same anymore. And I missed our friendship every day. And what I missed about that friendship is everything that I have with T plus more. And I wanted it for so long, and I just didn't know if I was ever going to find it. And I manifested it, and I wished for it, and I dreamed about it. And then one day, just so quickly, the universe was like, right, these two need each other now. They're at a point now where they'll see each other. And I picture it like whatever powers that be pressed like the, okay, cutie, and then she comes into my life. There couldn't have been a better time for me to meet her. I couldn't have needed her more. I couldn't have been more available for her. It wouldn't have worked if I'd have met her a year before because of who I was at the time and where I was at the time, and it just would never have happened because I never even fucking went to London. I would never have seen her. This was like one of my first times ever going to London too, as an adult, like by myself. Everything about the time I met her and the way I met her was genuinely a divine being. Like, that is not a coincidence. And I think that that's important to remember. If you're in a place in your life where you don't really know who you are, or you don't really have the friendships or the relationships that you crave and need and want, they are out there. Of course they are. I think it's just like, find the excitement in everything you're doing now as a story you can tell them later. Don't even worry about it. Like, you're gonna find them. And they're out there doing some, like, probably fuck shit, probably being so fun, having loads of fun without you. It sucks. Might even be kissing someone else. Kill them when you find them. You get to take pleasure every day in becoming who you need to be to meet the person that is meant for you. Don't stunt yourself just because you don't have something that you want yet. Yeah, but this is half the fun. That's literally half the fun. Go make yourself, go create yourself, go get an identity, go develop your identity, go lose your identity, whatever you gotta do. I just think like, oh, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I just love people. I need to wash my windscreen. Hey, there's poopies on it. Ooh, it smells like apples. Lovely. Well, to be honest with you guys, that was all I have for you today. Sorry, I don't have anything else to say. Do you want a life update? Do I even have one? I don't think I have one. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything since last week. I've just been out having fun. Went to a karaoke night, which actually is completely false information that I just gave you. I went to a premiere, okay, Owen Thiel's premiere of Adults. Really great, by the way, fucking hilarious. So we watched the premiere, and I don't ever drink at work events. Because why would I? That's weird. Like, I'm not, like, God forbid I have to make an introduction to someone. Like, I'm not gonna be drunk for that. And it's like, it's so stressful. You'd get the worst anxiety ever. Like, I don't drink. But I had some friends with me, and we had an open bar. There was an open bar. So they drank, okay, a little bit, not much. For some reason, wherever this premiere was, okay, there was a karaoke room off to the side. So when the premiere was done and people were just kind of stood around drinking, we fucked off, found the karaoke room, 3 bedazzled microphones, perfect. And one thing about me that I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, if I'm around drunk people and the energy is right, I will genuinely feel drunk even though I'm not. And it happened to me this night where I'm just like acting a genuine fool because my friends are drunk and I'm like, yeah. And we did karaoke like really loudly and really badly for like, I don't even know, like an hour. Sorry, Owen. And guys, people would come to like the doorway of the room to like see what the noise was about, and they would stand there and they would laugh for like a few minutes and then they would turn away and go somewhere else. It was actually so fucking fun though. Where did we go after that? We went to Barney's Beanery. Absolutely great spot. Met a tiny dog, like this fucking big. It was 3 months old. Crazy. And yeah, it's about as much of a fun story I have for you this week. So I have to pee. I'm gonna pee myself. I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening to another week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. Love you so much. And I guess I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Oh, I love you guys so much. This is you. Oh, I love you. Okay, that's... Bye.